Okay, has this ever happened to you? Pretend this is a handbag, you know, a square tote, right? And I buy it and I put all my stuff in it, and then I'm doing this and I can't find a thing. It's happened to all of us. Well, guess what? My guest today has the answer. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
All right, grab your coffee. We have a very exciting guest today that I have been looking for a handbag that is the ultimate forever, and my guest today has the answer. So let me tell you about tailorbags.com that just launched. It is an amazing story about my guest, Stephanie. I am welcoming you with my cup of coffee and telling the audience, I'm so glad you finally got the answer, because let me tell you, audience, I have been looking forever, and I'm sure many of you have too, for a handbag that goes anywhere, anytime, for any purpose. For example, when I'm traveling, I want a bag that's big enough but has enough pockets, which is her specialty, to put what I need in it. If I am going to a sports event, I want a bag that's got enough pockets that I can put things that relate to that in it. So I'm going to shut up. And Stephanie Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
How does a young woman just decide to be a handbag designer? Tell us.
Well, I'm not sure how. No.
Okay, start there.
Yeah, start there. I was working full time and working in the financial services industry, and obviously carrying a lot of different kinds of handbags, mainly tote bags, because I had a lot of different things to carry. And I was just having a difficult time finding a bag that met my needs, that carried everything that I needed and was functional, but yet stylish, classy. So I started to simply kind of sketch it when I couldn't find it.
So are you an artist?
I am not
What
an
were you
artist.
doing with the financial services?
So I was in marketing and business development.
Okay.
And I've always loved being creative, so I knew I had that in me. But no, I'm not formally trained. I'm not a sketch artist. I didn't go to design school. I just had a passion. I've always loved handbags. That's where it started, really.
Okay.
And when I wanted to marry my passion for handbags with not finding what I wanted, I decided to sit down and sketch.
I'm laughing because so many entrepreneurs that I've had on the show have a similar story that I've always wanted to have this, that, or the other, or I fell into it. But you said something I want to go back to. I've always loved handbags. I've always loved shoes. So what was it about handbags?
I just remember from the time I was a little girl that handbags I was always drawn to. And I think it's like the shape and the colors and how they're designed. I just have always been drawn to them.
Okay.
And I've frankly bought a lot of different handbags through the years based on that. So I was just more drawn to handbags than, say, shoes or having the perfect outfit. I wanted the perfect handbag.
And you know, handbags used to match the shoes.
Right.
Okay, so tell us about how you went from financial services in a big job, marketing.
Right.
And then did you just stop and do this? How did that evolve?
I did not just stop. I could not. I was newly married at the time to my husband, and interesting story. I didn't go to design school, right? I'm not the best at drawing and sketching. I've gotten much better through the years. So my father he studied architecture in college. So I knew he knew how to draw. My grandmother as well was an artist, actually. She could draw anything and paint anything. I did not get that gene. However, I got a little bit of the creative gene. So I just went to my father and I said, Dad, can you help me conceptualize what I'm thinking, what I see in my head? Help me get it on paper. And we sat down and he started to sketch my thoughts, and we'd tweak it and change it. And that's how it got started. And I did that while I was still working for a while.
So what was the sketch in the first handbag like?
So the sketch was actually pretty good, obviously, because my father helped me conceptualize that on paper. The next phase was, what is it going to look like? So I took cardboard and I literally cut cardboard and put it together into the shape and formed a sample, so to speak. A very raw sample, but a sample.
And what did you do with the cardboard?
Well, then I decided, okay, I need to really see if this is going to look good. So I went to the fabric stores, and we actually in where I'm from, Dallas, Texas, have some factories, not factories per se, but leather and material houses that I would go visit. And I found materials and I cut them and put them on the fabric to actually give it life.
This is amazing.
And it was that raw. It was that simple. But it showed me that it's going to look okay. It's going to work. So
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's kind of funny. I'm picturing your dad as a man is drawing the handbag.
Right.
All right. So then you make a cardboard.
Right.
You cover it with something. Now what are you going to do with it?
So at that point, my husband and I actually have some very dear friends that live in New York. And he had a business trip, and I went with them, and we went to stay with our friends, and I brought my cardboard model. And I told my friend at the time, I said, I want to show this around. I want to go to some boutiques in New York, and I just want to see what they have to say. And I think back then I was also a little naive to think that I would walk in with a cardboard model in New York and someone would go, wow, let's produce that now. But what happened was actually wonderful. I walked into one particular store in Greenwich Village, and the owner, it was nothing but handbags, floor to ceiling, all different kinds, shapes, colors. And she looked at it and she said, okay. And she kept looking at it and she said, if you change this and this, I think I'd carry it. I think you've got something.
And what
and
did
that little
do?
spark, that's what ignited me to go, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
That's really very cool. It really is.
It was a great moment.
All right. So you've got an inspiration. And then what?
So then I came back, obviously, to Dallas, and it was, all right, now what? I'm working full time. I've got my cardboard model. I've got my sketches. It was time to now start to teach myself the process of manufacturing a handbag.
Now, let me stop you there. Teach myself the process. I would think that there would be people you could go to.
Sure.
And you said Dallas, that's a pretty fashionable city.
Right.
And say, this is what I'm doing. I need some help. Did you get any mentors that helped you know how to do this?
I didn't directly have mentors that said, do this, this, and this first. But I did have a couple. There was one or two different people that I contacted that had started businesses. And they said, this is what I would do next. And they gave me a couple steps to get going. But they weren't directly affiliated with handbag manufacturing. So they were trying to give me principles to go by and then apply that to go and follow manufacturing an actual handbag.
Okay, so enough talking.
Yes.
Show us what is so special about Taylor Bags.
Okay, so the brand I originally launched was Taylor Bags. And I launched it many, many years ago when I had my first sketch.
So this is not the first?
This is not the first one.
Okay.
And that was a tote as well. And it was fortunately pretty successful. I was able to get in several hundred boutiques around the country, and it grew. However, at the time, for a lot of personal reasons, I had 2 newborn babies at the time. I wanted to I needed to kind of take a break and halt and rethink things. So,
and that was before, sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
before the internet and you
Right.
could sell online, right? So
The internet was there, but you're right, it was not as popular. You still needed, everybody wanted to touch and feel it and go into a brick and mortar store.
Sure.
So it was not the way to go at the time, unless you were really trying to pioneer that on your own. So I was just trying to survive and create the product and get out there. So I made the decision at that time in the early 2000s, take a break, Stephanie, slow down, and we'll get back to it. Fast forward these years later, my kids are older. It's time to reboot, relaunch, which is what I'm doing. And the brand is now Stephanie Taylor Handbags, and this is the tote that I am now currently manufacturing called the Cameron Tote.
okay, I want to see.
Okay.
I have seen. I want the audience to see or to hear about. Those of you who aren't watching, you can hear about it and then go online and see it, right?
So this is the tote, and you'll notice that I did the shape a unique way. And
Pretty.
it's for a simplistic, clean design aspect. I wanted it to be just a beautiful, timeless tote that you could pick up and carry no matter what. Sits down and holds its shape. For those of you that are, if you're working, if you're carrying things for your children, no matter getting on and off an airplane, I always felt like that was important. It didn't flop over and everything fall out. So it does hold its shape.
That's important.
That's important. And then what I'm known for is the inside, which is a lot of pockets.
Look at that.
And a very deep center. So when you're talking about how it's laid out, I tier the pockets, if you notice. This, I wanted to show you could put your keys, zip it and keep it secure. This is a cell phone pocket that your cell phone fits perfectly in and out.
Oh gosh, that's great.
This is padded, and that is for a device. If you have a Kindle, if you have an iPad, it fits perfectly in there. I simply also always carry my sketch pad and wherever I go in
You
case
learned
I
how
have
to
ideas.
sketch.
So I learned how to sketch all these years later. And so I put it in there. Then you'll notice that it opens and closes differently. This is a unique feature to Stephanie Taylor bags. It closes and holds its shape and
That's
will not empty out
beautiful.
without having to zip it. And I felt like that was important for women to be able to get in and out quickly.
So what's on the other side? Can you turn
So
it
you
around?
flip over to the other side, sure. And again, more tiered pockets. You lift the flap up, which again, that's for security too, to cover your cell phone or whatever you have. Another privacy pocket here that zips. You can put your wallet, whatever you want in it. And I just put sunglasses in these. And that was really just to show you, you can fit anything you want in there. You can fit water bottles. You can fit the sunglasses. I think I even have my AirPods. So it's really functional, and probably one of the most unique things. It's very deep. It will hold, if I can put it down here for a minute, I'm going to show you, it will hold one of the biggest iPads that we carry. Fits right down in the middle, and you can just close it and go.
That's awesome.
And everything fits in it. So
Gee.
it's functional, but also fashionable, trendy, and can go wherever you go.
And the tassel?
So the tassel, again, is a design feature along with this right here. I was in another interview and they asked me, what is this about? And I wanted there to be a clean, simplistic design feature to it that was unique to me. And so that you will see again in the future on other handbags. And the tassel is just to add some fun, some fashion.
Sure.
And we have several different colors, several different combinations, and these tassels will go on any of the bags.
So, Stephanie, in terms, that's great. You told me about the logo and what's on the inside that counts. I'd love for you to tell that's a pretty, spiritually speaking, a pretty nice logo theme.
Sure, that was one of the most difficult parts of getting started, was to create a new brand and logo. And I met with a company here in Dallas, a design firm that gave me a shot, frankly, because they're not a small design firm. And I called them up and I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got this idea. I want to create this line of handbags, and I need your help. I need to brand it. I need my logo.
Sure.
And so they said sure, which in itself is wonderful. We sat down, we had a brainstorming session, and they came prepared and said, Stephanie, I have about 10 to 15 questions to ask you. And they were all very personal questions, all about me, my background, my life, you name it, they asked it. Mm-hmm. They took all of that, went away with it, kind of mixed it together, and created my logo so that each piece was a part of me. And that's why I love the logo so much. So I'll share with you, if I can just pull to show you all the logo. It's stamped here, and I know it's fairly small, but there is a crown at the top. The crown represents my name, which is Stephanie. That means crowned one. At the top of the crown, there's a cross, a small cross, which is I'm grounded in my faith. My faith drives my decisions, my family, my life, how I live. So that starts then you've got me actually designing, hence the crown. And you have these two evergreen branches coming out to the side. This is one of my favorite parts because they asked me, what words would you affiliate your company or you with? And the first thing that came to mind was strength, strong. Uh-huh. I wanted it to be a strong company. I wanted to stand for strong women and how we can juggle a lot and do a lot and accomplish a lot, whether it's starting right out of school, no school, rebooting in my case, mm-hmm. doing it again. Yep. So those are evergreen branches to represent strength and a strong foundation. And then coming out of the evergreen branches, one of my favorite parts, my husband was born and raised in the Philippines. And we travel to Asia to see our family, that side of the family, quite often. And that's what that represents. He's a piece of me. We're doing this, together. He's my biggest supporter. And so that's the Philippine national flowers that are kind of anchored on the sides. So if you take the whole logo in one, it's a true representation of me, my family, what I stand for. And I wanted the company to stand for that.
There's a lot that goes into it, doesn't it, Stephanie?
There is. There's a lot.
And back to the inside of it, you said to me before the show, one of your teachable points of view is that it's what's on the inside that counts.
Yes.
What else? What are some lessons that you've learned now in your years of getting to this point, but even before that?
Wow, that's a good question. There's a lot. One that I have said when anyone asks me what have been the challenges even to just get where I am, mm-hmm. I don't like to say I was blocked or there was a roadblock in the way. I like to say that there were speed bumps. Because you can get over speed bumps, you just have to slow down and go over them a little slower, right?
I love that.
Right?
That's great.
Because I feel like we have control, especially if you're doing something on your own. We have control over whether we're going to go ahead and do it or not, right?
It's true.
So I don't want to say that I'm blocked, but that I have had a lot of speed bumps that I've had to get over. Slowly.
But you got over them.
But I'm getting over them one by one, and I think any business owner does. Sure. So that's a teachable moment that I like to tell people, don't give up. You can get over the bumps in the road.
What else?
My motto, what I founded the company on is it's what's on the inside that counts. And that is not only my design philosophy, which is the inside is just as important as the outside. I want the inside to be functional and have high quality, just like the outside to be made high quality and durable. But I was raised as a child, it's what's on the inside that counts. I mean, really, when you meet people, isn't it the inside, when you get to know them, the truth's going to always come out when you are interacting with people. And so I always feel like it's what's on the inside that counts. You need to pay attention to that. And I do that when I manufacture these bags. I'll always pay attention to the inside being important, just like the outside.
And They're made where?
That is something I am so happy and proud to say, because
I am
that is
too.
a big speed bump to get over. For
Yes.
those of you that have ever made anything, I'm manufacturing them in the United States.
Yay.
Yes, we're designing them. I designed them here in Dallas. I sketched them, get them ready, and then I have a great manufacturer literally in the heart of Manhattan that I have found, and they're wonderful. They do a great job. And I'm just proud to have them made in the USA.
And this is an interesting question to ask you, because when I carry any tote, and now it will be yours, people will say, well, let me feel it. Is it heavy?
Right, right.
And the fact is that this is, you said, beautiful Italian leather.
Right.
Well, let's see. Leather has its own weight, doesn't it? And if it's going to hold its shape, it's going to be really good leather.
Right.
So I used to get, I've always gotten tickled at that question. What would you say about overcoming that? Well, is it heavy?
Right. But that is a good question, and that is meaningful to a lot of people. What I always say is it's a leather tote bag, and leather automatically out of the gate is going to be heavier than nylon, PVC, some of these other things that handbags are made out of. So it might feel a little heavier, but again, when you're carrying a tote like this, usually you're carrying it for the day. You might even be able to. This tote you're able to put a smaller bag on the inside. So if you want to carry all your items in it that you need, go to your meeting, get on an airplane, run around quickly, you can pull your other small bag out if you want. But it's made of Italian, really good leather. So, and it's going to feel a little bit heavier, but it's not a heavy tote, no.
Is there a number one best-selling color that you find? How do you design and determine what colors each season?
Sure. So that is one of my signatures. I will always have fun with color. I feel like I can keep the timeless design, clean lines, so that it goes with everything. If you can imagine me currently in this with jeans, however, I may need to go do something tomorrow where I'm in a dress or something a little more formal. I wanted it to be able to go with everything. Mm-hmm. So where I have the fun is the pop of color. And how I decide is, obviously I look at what the trends are and what colors are really percolating in the fashion world. And then I go from there. What draws my attention? The interior design world is a great place to look, because what is being done in homes and all around architecturally is what is going to be reflected on clothing, accessories, handbags. And the inside of the handbags, I try to really have fun and do a pop of color. So you can find your things. How many times have you not been able to find items on the inside of a tote bag?
That's right. That's exactly right. So, audience, I was given a handbag, and I've been carrying it for, I guess, a month. She had just launched, and I can tell you, Stephanie, I have the orange one. Mm-hmm. So can I have that orange one?
Sure. Sure.
I love it. But what I also want you to know is that the linings are of what material?
So the linings are made of a really durable nylon material, and so that will stand the test of time.
Yeah, even this beautiful color.
Sure, show the pink one, right? It's a place to have fun, the inside, but the inside's going to take the beating, right? That's where we dump everything. Things spill, women's makeup, whatever it is. If a mom's carrying it and there's a baby bottle in there, so I wanted it to be durable.
So that's interesting. One other final point, because also a mother bought one of these,
right?
And you told me that she sent a testimonial saying, this is great because the bottles go here, and she literally told you, which is also kind of fun now that you're selling online. Are you getting some interesting sort of testimonials about how women are using it? Anything special or like sports? What?
I have. I try to interact with my customers. If they provide feedback at all, I'm on it and I'm talking with them. And so one of the most interesting stories was a young girl. She's probably 29, I guess. And she wrote in and said, I love my tote. She got this blue one. She carries it for work. And then she's on a tennis team after. So she goes, she empties it out, puts her tennis racket in it and her shoes that she puts with tennis to play tennis in it. And she heads to her tennis court and meets her friends because she loves the way it looks and it's easy and she can fit everything in it.
That's
so
great.
I laughed at that one. That one was
You can put
funny.
anything in
you
it,
You can literally
I guess.
put anything in it.
What else? Any other points of view that you'd share with us?
Well, one of the most special things to me is the name of the tote is the Cameron Tote, which is my beautiful daughter. And so I wanted to launch my first tote in this line, which this tote will always be in my line. We may make it smaller, we may do multiple colors, multiple sizes, but it'll always be in my line. And I wanted it to be named after her, so it's in honor of her. So that's fun.
And isn't she the beautiful redhead that's on your site?
She is.
What is the site? How can people order?
Sure. So you can go to taylorbags.com. You also can go to Instagram or Facebook at Shop Stephanie Taylor, and everything's there.
Oh, that's great. I wish you just lots of success. I've looked at handbags forever. I've never found, some have pockets, but I've never found one with this many and organized so that I can get as much in as I do.
Right.
And then since I discovered your bags, I can also say there still aren't any handbags like this that have this many pockets and this organized. So Stephanie, you've done an incredible job. I can't thank you enough for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I love to have entrepreneurs because I are one, right? So stay tuned because I want to share a Valerieism that kind of goes with this. I was trying to think, okay, what would I want to say today? So here it is. Don't lower your standards, raise others to them. Well, that's what Stephanie did. She didn't lower any standards. She didn't talk cheap. She didn't do anything that isn't absolutely doing it right. And that is what I think people who are doing it right in all areas of business, aren't you like I am, trying always to keep the standards, even when sometimes, frankly, maybe you were asked, or I have been asked through the years, just tweak it a little bit. Don't go quite to that quality. And I never have. And I don't want you to. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.